Hi, good afternoon. I actually don't really have a talk prepared, and this is just like a few things I noticed when I was back home voting. But I'm happy to hear people asking questions later on. So when I got back, the day after I arrived in Taiwan, I attended a rally, or like a protest. Well, not I attended a rally on Professor Kao's side, and then later on I also attended a rally on Sean Lian's side. And I think the main thing I noticed was that at Sean Lian's pre-election night rally, it was still fairly traditional. Like there were a lot of businessmen and important people on stage talking. And then as Dennis mentioned, that they were still very much holding on to the nationalism, the fundamental three. They handed out a lot of Republic of China flags for people to wave. And on the other hand, I think Kao's rally was very non-traditional, and it was pretty fun. So so actually during the whole rally, I think the more traditional rally hollers or things people would normally shout "Gong Suan" was not very much heard, and it was just it was more of a festival style march than actual political rally. So yeah, one thing that I think stood out was how positive Kao's campaign was. He was very transparent, and it was kind of weird actually at first to see how positive the campaign was, because normally it's a lot of polarization, people kind of trying to pull the other side down. And I think this was kind of this in contrast with Lian's slightly more negative campaigning, where he was trying to dig out problems with Kao's finances, that actually backfired on him, because with all of the media focusing on Taipei, people saw how negative his campaign was and started looking back onto their own elections, and it kind of contributed to people's dissatisfaction with the KMT. Okay, and the other thing that I noticed with this elections was also, as Dennis said, that this was a very much focused on the internet. And for example, Kao did not use any traditional billboards, advertisements, or flyers at all. He did not pay for any. I think he did not pay for any television advertisements, but he ran a lot of his campaign online, and I think that that made the young generation warm up to him a lot very fast in the beginning. And I think also the other thing that this kind of reflected was the young generation was mostly on the internet, so people were generally people my age were generally more friendly towards Kao, but there was sort of a generation gap. So also at Sean Lian's rally, I noticed a lot more, I think, mid-age to old-age women than any other demographic. And this also kind of reflected, I think, onto my personal social circle. I had a lot of friends who I think actually got into kind of conflicts with their mothers in particular, about who to vote. And I think this is actually something that I think kind of makes sense, because the older generation, or even our generation, people generally vote by image. And for the older or middle-aged woman, Sean Lian, when you look at him kind of non-biased, he actually is kind of the perfect son-in-law or son for that generation, because he's rich and he speaks really good English, and he's also very well-mannered. So it's kind of yeah, there's that kind of generation gap going on. Okay, and right before elections, I think it was pretty amusing to watch the talk shows, because by that time I think people were expecting the KMT not to do that well. So the talk shows were kind of hovering like sharks. They were going if the KMT were to lose, what would that mean for President Ma? And yeah, everyone has said before me, people generally didn't really focus on how well the DPP was doing, because most of the general population was just in general dissatisfied with the KMT. Um, yeah. So, okay, so on the day of elections, even though this was the largest local election that was held, I thought the voting was very straightforward. All the ballots were color-coded. There were a lot of volunteers inside each polling station telling people where to go, where to put the ballots. And afterwards, it actually really surprised me how efficient the votes were tallied and the results came out, because it was done in a very ancient way. So basically, it was just a lot of people standing there, yelling out votes, holding up the tallies for everyone to see, and then writing on the walls, and then taping up extra pieces of paper when paper ran out. It was all very, it's pretty ancient. But still, the results came out really fast, and actually that night I was having an elementary school reunion because a lot of my friends came back from all the other counties to vote in Taipei, and it was pretty interesting because it was kind of like watching a Stanford football game. Everyone had their phones out, everyone was looking at the results. Yeah, and even though the media was mainly focused on Taipei, in the last few days before the elections, some of the media turned to the other places where races were more competitive. So people expressed shock at Taichung or Jiayi, but Taoyuan was completely out of it went completely over everyone's head because no one knew the importance of it because no one had even heard about the race. Yeah, and basically I think that was most of the stuff that I think went on before the elections and during the elections. And yeah, so afterwards, I think in general, Professor Ko ran a pretty thought-provoking campaign with his head of campaign, Yao Liming. His precise words were beyond green and blue instead of no green and no blue. And I think that was very interesting because he's I think he's pretty green, but he doesn't really let that get in the way of being productive. So his head of campaign is actually, I think he comes from a pretty blue family. He's second generation Vietnamese. His parents came from mainland China, but still they run a really good campaign. And I think people, even though that might not be the main reason he won, maybe people were mainly dissatisfied with KMT, but I think a lot of people like me are rethinking the default way of voting, because it used to be that people mainly voted for party, and before that I guess people voted for their ideals, but now with the with the fundamentals three kind of gone, and then the two parties kind of not really having very strong ideals, people are wondering what should we do next.